para hacer extensiones y para crear una ley que crea trabajos, empleos para todo el mundo en el país. Gracias por venir aquí. ¡Viva! ¡Viva!
You want to speak a little bit about what's happening? Still photos? Great, thank you.
Then anybody else?
I think the left is.
Here because union jobs are diminishing all over the country. After 2000, Cuomo gets in 2011, it's going to be a full force attack on public sector jobs. We already laid off 800 workers at TWU, and when Cuomo gets in, I think it's going to be worse. They're threatening to lay off 6,000 teachers in 2011. This is a nationwide problem. That's why I'm here to support the 99ers, because this is a nationwide problem. We should all get better. Thank you.
Okay, well, what do you see as being a remedy for the unemployment situation?
I think, yeah, there needs to be a national WPA style program to train workers.
Right on.
Has to come from the top. The Obama level has to come from Obama. We have to stop exporting our jobs to other countries. I'm sorry. It's so un-American.
Okay, so what's the wrong in exporting the jobs?
Because we're left without any employment here. Almost every job, even attorneys are being fired left and right because an attorney can be hired in another country. They come here, they get their JDs, and then they go back to their countries. And with the use of computers and technology, they've taken away even the jobs of the attorneys. What's that all about? Every job is being outsourced to save money so that the companies just grow richer and we have no jobs. And that's not the American way. We have to get Congress to pass that law that gives the company a tax loophole for exporting jobs abroad. Whoever created that is insane. They don't understand economics. They don't understand. If people don't work, we can't buy their goods and their services. So how stupid can the government be?
Okay, so would you be saying that on the global level, which more than likely presents a lesser wage to people that work in a foreign country than the national wage, which would probably be higher over here, would you think that, would you say that the national wage should be in sync with the global wage?
No, absolutely not. What Americans do is far superior to people that are in another country. A perfect example is customer service. Somebody from India, who I can't even understand, they're making pennies compared to what I would have made as a customer service. So now the services are compromised, and we don't even know what's going on. They don't understand what they're talking about. They're just following a script. They make less money, and the service is deteriorating. When I call up customer service for a bank or a credit card, and I get one of these people from India on the phone, I can't understand them, I demand to speak to a supervisor. Every time, every week I do it. And I tell them, you took my job away. I don't even want to talk to you because number one, I don't understand your English, and number two, you don't even begin to understand the laws that are in this country that protect people with credit cards. So it's bad for the economy and the whole cycle of business.
So do you think?
Well, that are moving the jobs, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
I
not the
understand what
workers.
Connie's saying, but the problem is the corporations, right? And when we lower, I mean, we're the breadbasket, as it were, of consumerism in the country. And when we lower wages here, we're lowering them around the world. And that's not competitiveness. That's creating more inequality like we have in other countries and like we have here. More poor people and more rich people. And that is what is wrong with it, right? We should be seeking to raise wages around the world and not lower them so that billionaires can be billionaires.
So would you be in favor of supporting tariffs against foreign countries and foreign trade?
No, that's not, no. No, protectionism and all of that, in my view, right? I mean, there's all kinds of ways to slice up the pie, right? But we have to say, and we have to be the leaders in this country, and we have to say what is a human right. We have to say what do human beings and what does a civilized society do for its people before we worry about profits. We have seen this whole business about the Bush tax cuts, they've had them for 8 years. And what have they done? They've created the least amount of growth in this economy, right, than in any other time. So we want to extend them for what? For more people to be rich. I mean, the bottom line is that we know that we cannot depend on the public sector. The whole last 30 years of this trickle-down, corporate, raider, this corporate capitalism that we have, predatory capitalism, is not working for 98% of the people, plain and simple. It hasn't worked for many, many people for generations in this country, and that's a disgrace. But now it's reaching the middle class, and what we have is the meltdown of the middle class, and people need to realize it, because if it's not me, it's going to be you next, and your next door neighbor, and your next door neighbor. And that's the plan. We have the greatest inequality in this country that we have had in generations since the Great Depression. And if we don't wake up and say, wait a minute, what kind of country do I want to have for my children and my grandchildren? Forget about the deficit and all of that. What we have to worry about is, where is our money going, right? I mean, we've got all these military contractors that are raping us, and people filthy rich, and it is not right when we have children starving in the streets. And that's this country, and that's right now. And there's going to be more of it.
Well, I just read
with that. And let's not forget also that products that we get in here, which is what she's saying is much worse. The products that we do get in here, we have baby formula coming in as poison. We have kids' toys. Corporations got kids' toys coming in painted with lead paint, poisoning the kids. That's once we're starving, whatever we do have here, our people are dying because the outside world very often doesn't respect the same level of quality that we.
Well, they don't respect it. With all due respect, they don't respect it here in this country. Yeah, OSHA is completely worthless, because the lobbyists and the corporations have taken the teeth out of every kind of protection for normal people. When you go to work, the idea is you walk through that door and you are no longer a human being. You sit at your dinner, you're a mother, you're a father, you tell your kids, sit up straight, eat your vegetables. You walk through that door, you are nothing. You're owned by your boss, and that goes back to the days before the first Tea Party, which was the first act of civil disobedience in this country, right? The days back of indentured servitude. They would have us working for this. They would have us working for just this, if they could.
That's exactly what.
And that's what this predatory capitalism is. And people want to scream about names and unions and socialism. I'm so sick of that. The story here is that people are starving. This is our country, and if we don't stand up and say enough, we're human beings, and people deserve this help. They deserve this help.
Well, I just read an article, and the article says that we do a lot of trade with China, and it says that China, when they ship their products over here, that the products are shipped into Mexico, and because of the NAFTA, which allows Mexico to have fair trade with the United States, that they get a break on coming into the United States. And so China is shipping those jobs, those products to Mexico, and from Mexico, those products are driven into the United States. You don't think that's doing anything to the trucking industry or people that...
Well, of course it is. Yeah, of course. I mean, the Teamsters have been, and unions have been against NAFTA from the beginning, right? For that very reason. We don't make anything in this country, and that's my understanding. That's a violation of NAFTA. Not that I'm an expert on it, right? But the whole problem with China now, right, is the devaluing of their currency, which they're doing, which is unfair. But everybody's running to China.
Well,
Everybody's,
Bernanke just did the same thing.
He just did the same thing.
And the Fed manipulates U.S. currency.
Exactly.
Every country in the world is forced to trade in U.S. dollars in exchange for a promise to buy U.S. products. I think that they want to tell us who all of our enemies and all of our problems are, except for the real things. This is a global depression.
Yep.
I happen to listen to a man from India last night give a talk, and while they may ship some jobs away from here to India, Indian workers their unemployment is rising, and they're shipping those jobs to Thailand. And then they go from Thailand and they go to Honduras, where the U.S. supported a military coup to keep the workers from organizing and raising their wages. They are trying to make us compete and blame workers from all over the world. But these are U.S. companies, U.S. corporations that are doing this. And they take their profits and they put them in offshore accounts. Bloomberg just deposited $70 million in an offshore account. And we're supposed to blame immigrants? We're supposed to blame Chinese workers or Indian workers or anybody else? We got to say, we're not stupid. You just walk blocks from here. For the 4th year in a row, Wall Street has made record profits.
Record profits.
Record.
By their own accounting, they're bragging about it. They're bragging about it.
And they have their vaults. They are hoarding money. Instead of taking that money and investing it in productive jobs and services that we need, instead of taking the federal budget and creating jobs that we need desperately, they're spending $1 trillion on a war that we all hate and a war that only enriches the corporations. It's up to us to say the money is there and build a movement to demand it back, and we need to do this in alliance and cooperation with workers from every part of the globe that are facing the same situation. Those are just the things they want to tell us to look in the wrong direction. But we workers, we're smarter than that. We can figure it out. Our problem is here, right here, $600 billion to bail out Wall Street. Congress, Obama said no more bailouts, and they did it again 2 weeks ago. Well, what about $600 billion for jobs, or $1 trillion for jobs? National security is a job, a home, health care, and the right to an education. That's national security.
Okay, as far as the bailouts, let's go back to that. As for the bailouts, as for the bailouts,
Why did you do that, Gav? I'm sorry.
Would you say that the bailout has actually worked, or would you say it was a failure? I mean, I just saw reports with the auto industry, and they've actually made enough money to pay out the money that was paid to them in the bailout.
So you're talking about the TARP bail?
Yeah.
For the banks?
Well, not just the banks. I'm talking about. Well, I'm talking about the GM.
Okay, General Motors.
Yeah, the bailout that was given to them, so they've been able to pay that money back.
Right.
And they've been successful.
Well, yeah, successful, but they're okay. That's fine. But
all right, everybody.
They've also raped their workers, right? And
thank you, everybody, for coming. We want to make sure that everybody knows that we're going to be doing our next demonstration at the Christmas tree lighting at Rockefeller Center on the 30th. Now that's also when people's benefits are going to start expiring, because we know now that Congress is not going to pass an extension.
Sam? 1 second. From what I understand, Nancy Pelosi, Senator Reid said that he's going to put a bill on the table sometime next week where he's supposed to introduce a bill for unemployment insurance. Well, you're saying you don't think that's going to happen?
The bill will be moving through the House, but it's not going to move through the House before the expirations. So, you know, what's at stake here basically is we already have over 200,000, about 240,000 New Yorkers who've lost their benefits. That's in New York State. And we are going to have another 200,000 lose their benefits before Christmas if Congress fails to act. So that's what's at stake here, and this is the day that benefits are going to start running out for people. The 30th is going to be the first day that people are not going to get their checks, and that's why we want to keep, even as it's a festive season, we want people to remember the true spirit of Christmas, which is remember the needy, remember the least among us, and also peace on earth, because a big place a lot of this money's going is to war. And you know, we know that that's part of the problem. They're not building the economy here, they're blowing it up over there. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Alrighty.